In the previous video, I set up everything to start working on this social blog app. And now in this video, I want to actually implement some functionality. So I'm going to start with the user login system. So to begin, I'm going to go to models.py and I'll start working here. And by the way, there's a lot for me to cover in this video, so I might have to move a little fast. So if you don't understand any particular thing that I mentioned in the video, feel free to pause and go back, or you can watch the video multiple times, whatever works for you, but there will be a lot of information in this video. So the first thing I want to do in models.py is I want to bring in my DB object from extensions.py because I need that to create SQL Alchemy models. So from extensions, import DB. I also want to import some things that I need to get this to work properly. So I want the user model that I'm going to create in just a moment to work with Flask login. So I need something called the user mixin from Flask login. So I'll say from Flask underscore login, import user mixin. And this just extends the user class that I'm going to create with some methods that allows Flask login to work properly. I also want to import a function to generate a password hash along with a function to check that password hash against a password that the user tries to use. This is for the login system. So I will use the one from WorkZerg. So Flask is built on top of WorkZerg. So from workzerg.security, I want to import a function called check password hash and another one called generate password hash. Okay, so now with all the imports, I can go ahead and create my user model. So this is going to take in the user mixin that I imported from Flask login along with db.model to declare this as a SQL Alchemy model. And now the attributes here will represent the columns in the table user once it gets added to the database. So I have an ID column, and this will be an integer column, and this will be the primary key. Next, I need a name column. So this will be a string column, and let's say up to 50 characters long. Next, an email column. This will also be a string, and let's say up to 100 characters long. I'm just making up the numbers. This can be whatever fits your case, but for mine, I'll just use 50 and 100 there. For password hash, I'll go ahead and use 100 as well, even though I won't need 100 characters. And then I want to have a bio for the user. So db.column. I'll make this a string up to 1,000 characters. And then finally, I'll have a profile picture. So this will be a handle from FileStack. I'll make this 20 characters long. And this handle from FileStack will represent the unique ID of that picture on FileStack. So I can just build a URL using the FileStack CDN base URL plus the handle that will be stored in this profile picture. So that's all that is. Next, I want to create two methods here, one for hashing passwords and one for checking the passwords. And I'll use these two functions that I imported at the top. So I'll call the first one hash password. Self is always the first argument to a method and a class. And the second argument will be the password that they want to hash. And I will set password hash equal to generate password hash, so the function, using the password that they pass in. So we'll see how this works when I do it in the views.py, but I'll need this function as a helper. And then the same thing for check password. This one is going to return a Boolean. It has the same parameters. I'm going to return check password hash, so the function. And this one takes in the password hash that I have stored, so self.password hash, and then the password that the user passes in. So imagine a login form, a user types in a password. I'm going to compare the password with the password hash in the database. So that's why I need this check password hash function here. So that's it for this. Now in dunder init.py, I want to import that model in here because I need it for something. So from .models, import user. And I want to create the user loader in Flask login for that. So I can do it under the login manager init app here. So I'll do login manager.user loader, and you just define a function. Typically people call it load user, and it takes in some user ID, and it's going to be used to return the object for that user ID. So you just need to write a query for that. So user query get user ID. So the idea here is the user ID will be in a cookie. When the page loads, Flask login will take that ID and then pass it to this load user. And then in return, you'll get a user object for that user ID. So that's all that's happening here. So now with all that done, I can create my database for the first time. So to do that, I can go Flask shell. In here, I have just a minor error. Here, this should be login manager with an A. So now if I do Flask shell again, it should work. It does. Next, what I want to do is db.createAll, and this should create the table in my database. So I can use my SQLite command line tool and go into the file that was created. So db.sqlite3, type .tables, and we see users there. So as the videos progress, I'll add more into the database. But for right now, we just need the user table. So now that I have the table in the database and the model defined, I want to work on the actual endpoint for signing up. So let me go over to views.py, and the first route on my blueprints, so add main.route, will be an endpoint for signing up. So this endpoint will take in both get methods and post methods, and it will be called sign up as the function. And the first thing I want to do is just put the if request method equals post part here, and I'll just return account created for now. So once I have all of my endpoints set up, I'll modify this to actually redirect the user, but since I don't have them yet, I'll just return some text. And then if it's the get case, so the other case, I'll just return a template for signup.html, which I have over here. So let me import the things that I need. I need to import requests, and I need to import render template. And in the future, I'll redirect. So I'll import redirect and URL4 as well. So now let me start the app. And then I can go to 1.7001 port 5000. We see not found because I have nothing to find on the index. But if I go to /signup, we see the create account page. So this is the page that I want to bring to life. Right now, it doesn't do anything. So let me go back to the code. And the first thing I want to do is I want to set up file stacks. So let me go back. I want to be able to click on this button here, and the file stack files picker opens, and then I can select an image, which will be used as my profile picture. So let me go back and let me go into signup.html. And down at the bottom, what I want to do is before the closing body tags, I want to add some script tags. So since I don't have much JavaScript, I decided to put the script in the HTML as well, but of course you can put it in a separate file if you like. So the first thing I want to do is I want to initialize the file stack client. So I'll create a constant here and I'll call this client, and I'll use file stack. So this is from the library that comes from this import here, the CDN link. So file stack.init, and inside of init, what I want to do is I want to pass my file stack API key. So I can do that easily in the template. So I can use config.filestack API key. And the reason why I can do this is because my file stack API key is defined here in my .env. So remember, the Flask gets dropped, file stack API key remains, that gets put in my Flask configuration. So I can just put it here. So the curly brackets are for the variable. So this is going to be injected here in the template. Next, what I want to do is I want to get the element that represents the button. So here I have this ID. So get element by ID, and I will paste this in. So upload profile picture is the name of the ID. And I want to add an event listener. So once the user clicks on this button, so click will be the event listener, it is going to call client.picker.open. And this will actually open up the file stack file picker. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'll refresh the page and I'll click on the button here. And now we see the file picker shows up. So the idea is I will select like a profile picture and then click upload, and it will be uploaded for me. I can actually demonstrate that now. So I'll click on upload, and then I'll go over to my dashboard, go to the content browser, and I should have one file in there. So profile picture.png, and then I can click on the link or download it, and we see it opens up, and this is the exact picture that I just uploaded. So you can see how easy it is to integrate file stack. All I have to do is just add a little bit of JavaScript and it just starts working. But of course, that's not it. So I'll do some more with that file stack file picker, but that's the basics of getting it started. What I want to do for this particular case is I want to limit the number of files to one, because I just want them to upload one profile picture. And then after that, I want to change the text on the button to tell them that the picture has been uploaded. And I also want to append it to a hidden field in the HTML. So when I submit the form, I will know what the handle is. So let me go ahead and do that now. Before I actually open it, but after I have the client, I'm going to create an object called options. And I'm going to pass these options to the picker. So I can just copy options here and pass it to the picker. Inside of options, I want to set max files to be 1, so the user can only upload 1 file. And then also I want to set on upload done. And the idea behind this function is it will run after the upload is complete. So what I want to do is I want to grab that file. So I'll just say let file equal data dot files uploaded. And I want the first and only file in there. And then I'm going to create a hidden input. So I'll say let input equals document create element. And this will be an input element that I'm creating. And then I'll just set some attributes on it. So input set attribute. I want to say type is going to be hidden. And then I want to set the name attribute on this. So set attribute name. I will call this profile picture. That way I can get it on the back end when I submit the form. And then I want to set an attribute called value. And the value is going to be a string version. So this returns as like a JavaScript object. I'm going to use Stringify to convert it to text. And I'm going to pass that entire object over to the backend. So I'm stringifying file. So this is the thing that comes from files uploaded 0. And then finally, I want to append it to this div here called file stack handles. So let me copy file stack handles. And I'll say document get element by ID, the file stack handles. And then I want to append child using the input that I just created. And then finally, what I can do is I can modify the text on the button to make sure the user knows that they uploaded something. So I can do document.get element by ID, upload profile picture. And then I just want to change the inner HTML to profile picture uploaded. So these are the changes I need to make just to make the file picker work a little bit better for my use case. But of course, you can make any changes that fit whatever you're doing in your app. So here, let's test it out. Let's go back to the sign up page and refresh. I'll click on the link and I'll upload the same file again, profile picture. I'll upload. And now we see profile picture uploaded. So I'll refresh. And just note as a feature, if I wanted to, I can upload a profile picture and I can crop it if I wanted to, so I don't upload the whole thing. You know, I can draw a circle somewhere so I don't have to have the extra parts of the image, just my face, for example. And I can also rotate if I wanted to. I can do all these things by default. And there are other options that you can put in the file picker, but these are the 3 defaults that are here. I don't need to use any of them. I'll just upload the picture as is, but I just wanted to show you those things. Okay, so now with the file picker and the rest of our form ready, let's go back to views.py and let's work on the if request method post section so we can actually create an account. So the first thing I need to do is I need to gather the information that was sent through the form. So I'll do that by creating variables, and I'll use request.form get to get the email field. Do the same thing for name. So request form get name. And of course, the same for password and the bio. So request form get bio. As far as the image data, what I can do is I can create a variable called image data, and then I will do json.loads. So let me go ahead and import JSON. So remember, I use Stringify on the front end. So now I need to convert that string back to JSON, which will be Python dictionaries and lists. And I want to do request form get, and I called it profile dash picture. And then to get the actual profile picture handle, I'll just take the image data and get handle out of it. So this is all in the FileStack documentation if you want to see exactly what FileStack returns when you upload something. But for my purpose, I just need the handle, so that's why I'm getting it here. So now that I have this information, I can go ahead and instantiate a new user so I can create a row in the user table. So user equals user here. I need to pass the email. So email equals email, name equals name, bio equals bio, and profile picture equals profile picture. And no, I didn't pass the password, so I'll do that next. I'll do user.hash password. So I'll use that helper method that I created. So hash password, and then I'll pass in the password that the user actually passed in. So this will convert this password to an actual hash password, which you'll see in a second. Next, I want to add this to the session and then commit it so it saves to my database. So db.add user, db.session.commit, and this will add it. So let me go ahead and save this and let me see if I can sign up. So I'll go here to sign up. My name will be Anthony. My email will be anthony@prettyprinted.com. My password will be password1. And my bio will be my name is Anthony. Okay. I'll upload a profile picture. I'll select it. Profile picture here. Upload. We see profile picture uploaded, and hopefully when I create account, everything works. So we see images not defined, very easy error to handle. I just stopped typing at some point. But if I go back, so I'll put in the password again, upload the picture again, hit upload, and create account. And now we see the account has been created. So now let me stop the app and go over to the database. I still have the table, and if I select star from user, we see the information in the database. So Anthony@prettyprinted.com. This is the password hash. My name is Anthony as the bio, and then this string here represents the handle on FileStack. So if you just look GHLY, and I go back to FileStack, the content browser, I should have a few of the same images in here. And if I hover over one and click the link, it has the same handle. So this handle is now stored in my database. Okay, so now that the sign up is done, I want to go to the login endpoint now and work on that. So in here, I'll create a route called login. So this will also take in get and post. The function will be called login. And for this one, it's pretty straightforward, so I can write all of it. So request method for posts, I want to get the email. So request form gets email and the password. So request form get password. And then I want to get the user object associated with that. So user equals user query filter by email equals email. And I want the first result. So the idea here is if this user exists, I can actually verify that the password is correct. If the user doesn't exist, that means the email doesn't exist in the system. So for this if statement, I can say if user first. So if there's user, that means the email is correct. And then I can check the password. So and user.check password. So this is the other helper method on the model. And if both of those things are true, I can call login user, passing the user object. So now I just need to import from Flask login the login user function. So while I'm here, I'll go ahead and import the other things. So log out user, login required, and current user. Okay, so let me go back down. So if this works, it's going to log in the user, and I'll just return logged in for the same reason as before. I don't have all of my endpoints set up, so I can't redirect anywhere yet. And then if either one of these things is false, so the email is not there or the password is incorrect, I'll return invalid credentials. And then finally, for the get case, I want to return the template for login. And there are no changes that need to be made to login because it's a pretty simple template. It's simply HTML and a form. So I'll start my app again and I will try to log in. So let me go to /login. And note here at the top, it has sign up and login. If I can log in correctly, these will change to create post and log out. So let's see if I can log in properly. I can. It says log in. I'm getting help from the password manager for my browser, but you see I'm logged in. Now, if I go back to login, we see the create post and log out. So I am now officially logged into the app. And if I want to be able to log out, creating the log out route is very simple. So /log out. This can take a GET request. The user should be logged in, so I'll put the login required decorator, and then I'll call this function logout. And what I want to do is do logouts user, and then just return logged out. So this is another thing that will eventually redirect, but for now, I'll just return text. So I'll save that, and I will go to slash logout. It says logged out. So now when I go to log in again, I see sign up and log in. So let me sign in again. Okay, so I'm logged in. And the reason why I want to do this is because I want to work on the create posts endpoint now. So to create a post, the first thing I need is a model to hold the post. So in here in models.py, I will go ahead and create another model. This one will be called posts. This only inherits from db.model. And this will have a few columns on it, so a few attributes. One will be the primary key, which is exactly the same as the primary key in user, in form. Next, I'll have an author ID, so the person who wrote it. So this will be db.column, db integer, and it's going to be a foreign key back to my user table. So the user table with the ID column. That means I will put an ID here that represents a user ID. So I will do that for author ID. Each post will have a title. So this will be a string. So let's just say up to 50 characters long. And then finally, it will have a body. I don't know how long it can be. So instead of string, I will use db.text, which can be any length. All right, I can put a relationship here. So db.relationship pointing to the user model. And I'll use back populates equals posts to tell SQL Alchemy that I'm going to create the counterpart in the user model. So posts equals db.relationship post, and this will back populates the author that I just created. So these two go together. And now with the post model created, I'll go ahead and stop my app, run the shell. So Flask shell, do db create all, and I will see if it's there. So instance db.SQLite3 tables. Now we see post and users. So the post table has been created. So now let me go back to views so I can start working on this. So I now want to be able to create a new post. So I'm going to create a route, and I'll call this /create for create posts. And this will take the methods get and post. And this will require you to be logged in. So I'll use the login required decorator. And the name of the function will be create posts. So let me just scroll it down a little bit. First thing I want to do is I want to return the template for creating a post. So create posts, and I'll start the app, and I will go to /create. So this is what it looks like right now. I have a title field, I have a generic text area, and I have this create post button. So what I want to do is I want to convert this plain text area into the Fruala editor so I can get all of the functionality that comes with Fruala. So to do that is very easy. Let me go over to the create post template. I've already imported the JavaScript for Fruala editor. I will go down to the body, and I'll just add some script tags here. And what I want to do is I want to instantiate the Fruala editor. So Fruala editor, and I need to pass in the ID of the text area. So here the ID is editor. So hash editor, and that's it. So once I do that and reload the page, we now see the Fruala editor. It's really that simple just to get the WYSIWYG editor in there, and then I can start using it. So if I wanted to center the text, I can put some text there. Hello. If I wanted to bold something, this is bold, and so on. So the WYSIWYG editor works completely, and I can use all the features and add as much text as I want. So now back in views.py, what I want to do is I want to handle the case when the user submits all this data to the backend. So I'll do the if requests method approach again. So this is for the post request when the form gets submitted here. And I want to get the title. So requests.form get the title. And I also want to get the body. So request form get, and I want to get the body out of there. And then I want to instantiate a new post. So I'll say post equals, and then the title will be title. The body will be body. And the author will be the user who is logged in. So using Flask login, I can just say current user, and that would be the user object for this user. Since I have a relationship on author, Flask SQL Alchemy knows how to handle this. So title, body, author. Then I can add it to the session. So db.session.add post, and then db.session.commit to save it. And then once again, I'll just return a string until I have the other endpoint set up so I can redirect properly. And let me go ahead and import post up here because I'll need it. So user and post. And let me go ahead and try to create a post. So let's go here, refresh. I'll call this my first post. Here and type something, I'll type hello. And then underneath, I'll type this text is bold. And then I'll add some text in the center and I'll say this text is centered. And I can also make it italic. I'll click create post. We see created posts. Let me go ahead and stop the app and go to the database. And then we're going to select from the post table and we see my first post here. We see the author ID, which is 1. We see my first post and we see the generated HTML in the body column for this. So hello, this text is bold and so on. So I'll go ahead and close this. I can start my app again. And now I want to display this. So I will create one more route in this video. This one is called post, and this will be the easiest of all of them. This will take in an ID. So whatever the post ID is, I'll just take that in. And what I want to do after defining the function name as post and the parameter ID, I want to get the post object by doing post.query get, passing in the ID. And I want to return render template for post.html. And I want to pass the post to the template. And then inside of the template, so post here, inside of the container, this is where I want to put the text of the post. So because I'm using Firewalla generated HTML, I want to use a class called frView, so fr-view, and then I want to put everything inside of here. So the double curly brackets, I'll take post.body, and because this is HTML, I can't inject it just like this, but I can if I do pipe and then the word save. So that way the template engine will take that HTML and inject it in this HTML here. And the reason why I can use this frView is because I imported the CSS for Firewalla up here. So now let's take a look. Let's go back to the app and go to post/1, hit enter, and we see my first post, the name of the author, me, Anthony. And then we see hello, this text is bold, and this text is centered. So we see we have the create post functionality working properly. We have the post working properly, and then also the user login system. So users can create an account and they can log in. In the next video, I'm going to focus on using the Firewalla editor and FileStack to upload images and videos so they can be posted to the blog. Also, I'll add some security for FileStack in case you want to make things more secure when it comes to uploading images and videos.